Okay, this is the flip lesson for 2.3. 2.3 is going to be talking a lot about slope of a line, slope intercept form, how to graph an equation in slope intercept form using slope and y-intercept, and how to write the equation of a line given its graph. Okay, you know what? I'm not even sure. I don't think we're doing that. So that is what 2.3 is about. So here we go. All right. The first thing we're going to go over is what we call the slope formula. Okay? The slope, it says the slope of a non-vertical line is the ratio of the vertical change to a corresponding horizontal change. Okay, so if you think about slope to me is you start anywhere on your paper and you are going to basically go vertically up and you're going to horizontally run. Okay, and you're going to end up somewhere like this spot. Now, if you look over here, slope-intercept form is just rise over run. So slope, I meant to say slope is just rise over run. So slope is how far you vertically rise. So let's say we went 3 up, and how far do you horizontally run? Let's say you go 5 over. If that's how you got from point A to point B, that's your slope. And your slope of your line ends up being slope equals vertical change, rise 3 and run 5. So your slope is 3/5. Okay, well, vertical change happens to be the change in your y values. So you subtract your y's divided by the change in your x values. The y's are your vertical and the x's are your horizontal. And there are 3 examples following to help us understand this. So here we go. The first example, what is the slope of a line that passes through the 2 given points? Okay, your first point is -10, your -10, 2, your second point is 4, -5. So if you want the slope is simply going to be the difference in your y's over the difference in your x's. Okay, and the y2 and the y1, the y2 just stands for the y value of the second point minus the y value of the first point. That's all it means. All right, let me change colors on you. Let me go black. Okay, so here we go. We are going to get the slope of the line going through the following 2 points. So in for your y values, you'll use 2 and -5. So here we go. 2 subtract the y value, -5. And then you put in for x's the -10 and the 4. So we're going to go -10 subtract 4. Double -2 minus -5 turns into +5. So you end up with 7 over -10 and a -4 make -14. So the slope turns out to be, if you reduce the fraction, -1/2. This becomes your slope. And if you think about it, -1/2 would mean you start anywhere on your paper, and the -1 just means you go down 1 unit, and the 2 on the bottom means you go 1, 2. I should have put dots. So you go 2 this way. And then you end up here, and this is what a line with a slope of -1/2 would look like, just like that. Okay, so the slope of the first one was -1/2. The slope of the second one, let's do it quickly, and it's going to be slope equals, I'll go a little quicker now. I'd take the y value -1, subtract the other y value -1. Here I take the 6 and subtract the 5. Now remember, if you start with this -1 minus this -1, You have to go the same direction. You start with the 6, you take away the 5. On the top, you'd get, make that a plus, you'd get 0. On the bottom, you'd get 1. So what's the slope of this line? The slope of this line would be 0. And what does a slope of 0 look like? A slope of 0 means you start here and you rise nowhere. And then you run 1. So if you rise 0 and you run 1, you now have a horizontal line. So horizontal lines have a slope of 0. Slope is, I'm going to use m because m is what we use for slope. Slope is 0 for horizontal lines. Okay. If you go to the next problem, whoops, too far, hang on. Let's go here. What's the slope of this one? This time I'm going to do it both ways. You can start with the y value 5, subtract negative 3. Then you'd have to start with negative 2, subtract negative 2. You would end up with slope of, this makes plus, this makes plus. You're going to end up with 0 on the bottom and 8 on the top. Now, 8 divided by 0. Now, some students will say that's just 0, but that's not true. Because 0 goes into 8 how many times? And the answer is, 0 will never go into 8. So it's undefined. Okay? Which also means, when I talk about slope, it means there's no slope. Okay? No slope to this kind of line. Now what kind of line is this? This line, if we just look at it, you start anywhere you want. Start here. And here it's rise over the run. Rise over run, you go up how many? You go up 8, and you would run nowhere. So what kind of line has no slope? Vertical. Vertical lines have no slope. You can't measure the slope because all you do is rise, rise, rise. 8 over 0 would work, 10 over 0 would work, and so on and so on. Now, just so you know this, you can do this problem either way. You could have done any of these problems either way, and you would have got the same answer every time. For instance, I went 5 minus 3. I could have done negative 3 minus 5, okay? And then I could have done negative 2, take away negative 2. On top, I would have got negative 8. On the bottom, I would have got 0. Once again, negative 8 divided by 0 is still going to be undefined. So it's the same thing. You can do it either way. It really doesn't matter. You'll get the same slope. You would have got 0. You would have got negative 1/2. Any way you do it. Okay? That's how you calculate slope. Now the next page. The next page talks about slope-intercept form, what it is, what we do with it, and what we really do with it is graph. But first you got to know what it is. Slope-intercept form is simply going to be an equation written like this. Okay, so slope-intercept form of an equation of a line is y equals mx plus b, where m right here, is the slope. Where do you find m? M is right in front of x. It's the number in front of x. And of the line, and 0 comma b is called the y-intercept. Now the y-intercept is simply where the line crosses the y-axis. Okay, so for instance, if I gave you this, okay, in this case, the slope has to be the number in front of x. So the slope is 3. The number back here, b, I guess this would be b right here, is called the y-intercept. The number all by itself is the y-intercept. It would be where the line crosses the y-axis. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. The reason you want your lines in slope-intercept form is so that you can graph them. So first you're going to do this. You're going to write the equation in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form, when I hear that, I think always solve the equation for y and get it to look like that. Okay, so solve for y. Plot the y. Again, the first thing you'll do is plot the y-intercept. Then you'll use the slope to find the next point. Then, of course, you're going to connect the points and draw the line. And that's really all you do. And I think you've done this in previous classes. So let's start with this one. Okay, I'm going to make that just, I can't make it bigger. Okay, I'm just going to rewrite it. And then what I'm going to do is write the equation. Oops, hang on one second. I'm going to write the equation in slope-intercept form, which means take this equation and solve it for y. So let me just start over. Negative 2x plus y equals 1. Okay? So you must get y all by itself. So that what's in your way is this negative 2x. Okay? What's happening between the y and the negative 2x? Addition. So to get rid of negative 2x, the opposite of subtracting 2x is to add 2x and add 2x. Whatever you do to one side of the equation, make sure you do the same to the other side. Okay? All right. So this 2x, take away 2x, cancels out. Those are opposite numbers, so they're gone. Y equals, now on this side, I always write the x term first, then I write the number, what we call the constant, last. So here is the equation you have to graph. Y equals 2x plus 1. Now, when you look at these equations in slope-intercept form, this number in front of x is known as the slope. So the slope is a number, and it's always going to be a ratio of rise over run. So the number 2 is really just 2 over 1. Okay, so there's your slope. The number in the back, which is 1, is the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is always going to be 0, 1. It's always going to be 0, whatever the number is in the back. So in our case, it's 0, 1. So to graph it, you got to go up here, and now you got to plot the y-intercept. Okay, so on the y-axis, where do we go? We go to 1. Okay, and from there, what do? We do whatever the slope tells us to do. And here, the slope is telling us to rise 2 and run 1. Okay, well, rise 2 is, I'm going to change colors on you. I'm going to go 1, 2, and run 1. 1, 2, and run 1. And you just keep this going forever and ever, and you can quit after probably 3 or 4, but here goes the right side of your line. And on the left side of your line, you just do everything opposite. Instead of going up 2, right 1, go down 2, left 1. Down 2, left 1. Down 2, left 1. There you go. And there it goes. There's the rest of the line. So to graph an equation in slope-intercept form, it's pretty simple. Pick out the slope, pick out the y-intercept. 2 is the slope, 1 is the y-intercept. Start at the y-intercept, 1. And from the number 1, you have to go whatever the slope tells you to go. All right, let's try another one. You might want to shut off the, or pause the video or the tape, the recording, and try this one on your own, and then start it up and see if you did it right. If you don't want to shut it off or pause it, just go with me. Keep going. All right, ready? Let's do this one. I'm going to rewrite it so it's a little bigger. Okay? Solve for y. That would be the first thing. Solve for y. Get it in slope-intercept form. So that would mean move the x term over with the 14. To move the x term over, it's negative 4x, so the opposite of minus 4x would be plus 4x. Now these two numbers, negative 4x and positive 4x, are opposite numbers. When you add them, you get 0. But you have to add 4x over here. So all that's left is negative 7y equals, I usually put the x term first. I put the number last. Then I divide by the multiplier. The multiplier is negative 7, so you will divide by the exact number, negative 7. Every number, both sides of the equation, get divided by negative 7. So here the 7s are out. The negative divided by the negative makes a positive y. 4 7ths is reduced. 4 7ths x. Notice the negative on the 7 is on the bottom. I typically put it on the top. It doesn't matter where you put the negative, just put it with one number. I like it to go on top because I like the number on top to be up 4 or down 4. In this case, it's going to be down 4. Okay, 14 divided by negative 7 happens to be negative 2. Okay, with that information, you can pick out the slope. The slope would be, right here, number in front of x, negative 4 7ths. And the y-intercept is the number all by itself. That number is negative 2. Don't forget, look at the sign in front of the 2. It's 0, negative 2. Okay, so when we come back to the slope is simply telling you rise over run. If you're going to rise negative 4, you're not going up. You're going down. We got to go back here first, though. We got to start at the y-intercept. Down 2, that would be about right here. And now we're going to go, whatever the slope says, rise negative 4. Well, that's not up. That's down. 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then run. Whoa, run 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so your line is going down. And why does it go down? Because the slope is negative. Now remember, if you want the other side of the line, reverse your direction. Instead of down 4, right 7, let's go up 4. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I went 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I did. There it is. And the line continues. Now remember, when you want to know if a line goes up or down, you read from left to right. Left to right tells me what it does. It's going downhill, and you should have known it was going to go down because the slope was negative. If you've got a negative slope, you've got a line that goes down. If you've got a positive slope, you've got a line that goes up. If you have 0 slope, try remember, if your slope is 0, slope of 0 means you have a line that starts here, it rises 0, and it runs forever. For instance, 0 over 5 would be rise 0, run 5. Horizontal lines have slope of 0. And try to remember this. If you ever get slope to be 5 over 0, this would be undefined. Or better yet, you could just say no slope. No slope happens when you end up with a vertical line. Start right here, and it says rise 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right here. And run 0. Well, if you run 0, you're not going right, you're not going left. So basically, you have a vertical line. Vertical lines have no slope. That would be the lesson 2.3. Good luck. Hopefully your worksheet is easy for you.